Hello everyone, this is Parth Sane here. I'm going to present my presentation on the brief survey of current software engineering practices in continuous integration and automated accessibility testing. Some of the main concepts that I'm introducing in this are related to continuous integration, continuous delivery, accessibility testing, and then we can further explore what is accessibility and then what are some of the standards or checklists that we can refer to when actually testing for accessibility for a particular piece of software. Then there is continuous integration when we are performing continuous integration. Uh, in software engineering, continuous integration is the practice of merging all developers' working copies to a shared mainline several times a day. And this is typically when developers are working together to commit their code and put it into a Git repository, which is the dominant source code maintenance or source code collaboration tools which are present there. Those include even GitLab, GitHub, and so on and so forth. They are originally introduced as a concept by Grady Brooks, that is, continuous integration has been introduced by Grady Brooks in 1991 um, with a limited construct. It was not fully expanded at that time, but some of the concepts were explored back in 1991 when this was talked about. Continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is a software engineering approach in which the teams produce software in short cycles, ensuring that the software can be reliably released at any time, and when releasing the software, doing so manually. Now, academic literature really differentiates between continuous integration and continuous delivery. Martin Fowler says continuous deployment requires continuous delivery, which means that in order to do continuous delivery, we have to do continuous integration. Uh, well, you know, part of it is that if we need to do deployment, then we have to do delivery, and then in order to do delivery, we have to require integration. So CI/CD is kind of a phrase or term that you will see often um, working together. Now, with respect to accessibility, since this is our main focus for the paper, is how to adopt accessibility in our CI/CD testing approach. Accessibility in software means the capability of programs to be used irrespective of a person's ability or disability. This is a simpler explanation since the definition of accessibility is probably a little bit more expansive than what can be discussed in this particular topic or discussion. Then we have to ensure that software is accessible, and then in order to do it there are several steps and measures that need to be taken and we can do. They are part of these checklists and processes, and we have example checklist at section 508.gov, and that really talks about how we should follow W3C standards. And when I'm talking about W3C, I mean the World Wide Web Consortium. They have some accessibility standards. There is another accessibility document which is published as part of some of the rules in the US Federal Register for accessible applications and so on and so forth in government scenarios. There are some research questions. Um, Additionally, research questions are very important to discussion of our paper, because that it makes us understand what is the delivery for this paper, what is the contributions, and from that point of view. So, research question one: what are some of the challenges to adopt accessibility testing quoted in literature? What are some of the popular software accessibility tools that can be integrated into CI/CD as part of automated tests? What are some of the positive benefits that arise from the implementation of accessibility testing as part of CI/CD pipeline? Can accessibility testing be incorporated into agile methodology as part of CI/CD? And additionally, how can agile teams adopt accessibility testing if they are not familiar with it? These are some of the questions that our paper, sort of answers, and particularly, uh, research question 4 and 5 are of interest to members of the audience who are from the industry, since there is always a challenge to adopt something from research that is maybe not necessarily going to impact a business immediately, but maybe helpful. So I think those questions are going to be interesting to look at what the results are going to be. Now for findings. With findings, there are some challenges um, with you know the research question one being, what are some of the challenges to adoption of accessibility testing quoted in literature. you know some of the literature says, which, like for example, Wellerman, Nahui, and Van der Geest describe that that adoption of accessibility tech and standards is driven by innovation in enterprises. Now this is not just true about accessibility tech, but any kind of technology. Typically it is driven by innovation. If new kind of innovation is very prominent in a company or an enterprise, then typically new technology and standards are adopted more quickly. The pace at which this tech can be adopted is driven by some of the factors, which is relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, and observability. For example, businesses will adopt a new technology which is driven by innovation when they see that there is a relative advantage to adopting this as compared to what they're doing. Then, is it compatible technology to adopt with respect to what they are using? Then how complex is it to adopt the technology? Is it a high effort? Is it a low effort? And what is the challenge in actually getting that through? Now, there are some hurdles to creating automatic test cases. They are possible to overcome. And typically, as part of the software development lifecycle, we find that agile teams are able to adapt to changes very quickly, and this should not be a hurdle. There is more further discussion on this in the written copy of the paper. I would encourage you to look at that. But as far as just overall presentation, this is what are some of the highlights from research question one. Then for research question two, what are some of the popular software accessibility tools that can be integrated into a CI/CD pipeline as part of automated tests? Um, I think most famously, the Axe tool engine is an example of a tool that can be integrated into as part of the CI/CD process. It's being used by Quaja for detecting accessibility issues for websites of public libraries. And Axe can be integrated as part of commercial tools such as Browser Stack, as part of Selenium test case for unit test. You know, and the unit test can be integrated as part of the pipeline as a build stage or as a test stage. Uh, for example, GitLab, the popular online source code sharing and collaborative platform, uses what is PA11Y, or also called as PALI, as part of a CI job template for pipelines. And pipelines are a good way to use templates and automate this. Um, Not only just does GitLab support this with respect to pipeline templates, but you have competitors such as Atlassian and Bitbucket who also support pipelines, and this can be a feature which is possible to implement there as well. Research question three. What are some of the positive benefits that arise from implementation of accessibility testing as part of the CI/CD pipeline? All developers or business stakeholders want to know: is it any useful to us? Does it provide any benefit to us? Projects that use CI/CD pipelines as part of their process have test automation as a prevalent practice as compared to projects that don't. We already suspect that as part of this. Any project that has non-zero number of tests are typically projects which are correlated with higher code quality. Now we should just go back to that and remember that correlation does not mean causation, but there is a correlation that non-zero number of tests are related with higher code quality. Uh, if we have tests which are written poorly, that really doesn't cause a project to be better, for example. As per Hilton et al., CI/CD has been proved to be beneficial and has improved benefits when employed with projects with automated test cases. They emphasize that CI helps in catching bugs but not locating them. We often get some important error messages buried in CI logs, which may be difficult to pour over manually. Metrics gathered from the tooling as part of deployed CI/CD solutions. GitLab solution is good, but it starts to customize what kind of metrics can be collected to get insights. We have research question 4. What are some of the positive benefits that arise from the implementation of accessibility testing as part of a CI/CD pipeline? The software development team can incorporate their accessibility tests with their regular unit tests as part of their code. This will help unify concepts of automated accessibility tests that were not with the approach earlier, but now can be freshly proposed in this figure to the right here. Essentially, we start from the top left, and we can have code under continuous integration build, and then the binary interface or binary or user interface can be tested using accessibility tests. And if we have a pass, then we display a pass message. If we have a fail, then we display the fail log message with rectification steps from the accessibility tool, which will help us understand what the problem was, and then the developers can update it. For research question 5, we have like the discussion about how agile teams can adopt accessibility testing if they are not familiar with it. Swirled up in sand are some describe some of the challenges faced by teams in adopting accessibility. They concur with other studies that cite accessibility in softwares as an underdeveloped area. Swirled reports that software developers generally tend to do worse in implementing accessibility. Um, and this survey conducted reports there was a general feeling that implementing software accessibility was outside their job responsibilities. And then developers can be trained with Adobe and teach access models that can help stakeholders appreciate about designing and developing for accessibility. And as we see to the right, the diagram, which is also part of some of the contribution of the study, makes us realize that having this kind of a use case training cycle will be a virtuous cycle which will go ahead and help the business enterprise to scale, and developers can learn and then impart training to other developers, and it may be that somebody who is part of the enterprise can create more accessible software, and then the company gets business value from the training. Limitations. The goal of the study and survey is to research the state of accessibility in continuous integration. As such, the most evident limitation of the study is lack of quantitative data, because qualitative rather than quantitative information is presented in an effort to demonstrate the practical and operational aspects of implementing CI-driven automated testing. There are some more suggestions presented where we are saying that it's not exhausted by any means, since new standards, technologies, and tools are being agreed upon by the community from time to time. But this is a good review of the overall state of the practice with respect to automated accessibility tests in a CI/CD process. Putting this in a process makes this possible for us to have repeatable solutions, and so that people will be able to uh, incorporate this as part of their secure software development lifecycle. Additionally, we have some conclusions. The main takeaway from the study is that the big benefits to business and users in need uh, to accessible software, people will get value from this, uh, especially people who have disabilities, with respect to uh, visual disabilities, or if they have any motor disabilities and others. The business gets to address an underserved market. Accessible software benefits users, and it serves a symbiotic need in the industry. Businesses can stand to gain from having more number of customers, and users can gain from having software that they can actually use. Also, we have seen that there is numerous publications cited in this paper that automated, accessibility testing is a feature that is a need of the hour. Pretty much, it's been declared and decreed that having accessible um, infrastructure overall, and software also being infrastructure, is a need of the hour, and we need to address that as part of our corporate social responsibility, if not a business need. And that will be the bibliography. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. Questions?